everyone. Thanks for sticking around. We have our Q&A with Mendoza and Theresa Navarro. You guys can step up here. So why don't you guys start? We all know who you are by introducing yourselves and your roles on the film.
I'm H.P. Mendoza, writer and director of Melon.
I'm Theresa Navarro, I play Shelley.
So,
Sorry, I'm just waiting for you. Sorry.
no, it's okay. Well, you just introduced yourself as a writer-director, but as we were just talking, as you can see, you also edited, and you even composed the score. You performed the song at the end, which I didn't even know. I mean, why? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, not why, because obviously it's great that you're so multi-talented, but what's it like, and kind of how do you decide, like, okay, I need to do all of these things?
I think when I first started, I was wearing all the hats because I had to. You know, like you only have so much money to work with. I feel like I'm constantly clarifying for people the difference between an independent filmmaker and like a Hollywood filmmaker. Like an independent filmmaker means I still pay rent. You know, all of my money goes into the movie. I don't really make money. So in the case of Melon, I had the chance to play with a little more money than I'm used to because it's cinematographer, and they're in the house tonight at ABS-CBN. And you know, the truth is, I wanted to have this big like American pop song at the end of it, and it was just going to cost way too much. And I was like, I guess I'm writing another song.
So can you just speak about kind of the origin of the project, also Theresa, how you got involved? It's kind of the beginnings of Melon and the genesis of the idea.
Well, this answer is going to give away what the pop song is supposed to be. The original title of the script when I wrote it in 1997 is "He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother," and I actually have a scene where Shelley and the entire family is carrying body parts. He ain't heavy, he's my brother, and it was just a lot wackier then. It was like a really super, you know, it's what 20-year-old me wrote in 1997. It was like this wacky, dark comedy because I wanted to let people know that I can handle trauma with humor. Because a lot of it is like my own personal trauma, right? Like it's a very personal script, and like, and I know lots of people that I grew up with have the exact same story. And it's hard to explain that to people, right? So I just want to make a comedy about this. But as I got older, I realized that, yeah, I think I didn't even know what a dark comedy was when I was 20 years old. You know, I was like, oh, it'll be funny and it'll be kind of scary, and I'm not going to honor morals or what's right or wrong. And as I got older, I realized no, I have to actually honor the drama of that. So as much as I love to call it a dark comedy, I still think it is. I think it's more of a tragic comedy. You know, it's a comedy drama. And while I could love to whine and say, oh, it's so hard to make a movie with all Filipino Americans, and so I'm glad that cinematographer comes in now. I also think now was the right time for me to do it. I had to mature as a storyteller before I could tell this story.
Yeah, and you know, I met HP when we were both living in San Francisco. I was working at the Asian American Film Festival, CAMFest at the time, and we had the honor and pleasure of premiering Como the Musical. Most folks here are probably familiar. And my colleagues and I would stay up late in the office, and all we would do was play the soundtrack over and over again and memorize all of the lyrics. And so we'd have an annual karaoke party, and I think I was drinking and auditioning for him at the same time. And ever since then, this is our 5th collaboration, our 5th time working together in the last decade. And I first heard about this project in 2008. So I've been patiently waiting for this to happen, and the time is now, and I'm so glad that we were able to do this together with the help of UCBN, and everybody was part of it. Just going back to San Francisco as someone who's also been away from San Francisco for 10 years, watching this film and making this film has been kind of it's sad, it's a haunting. It's like, I'm a displaced Filipino American from the Bay Area. Many of us Filipino Americans, artistic, you know, creatives, have been forced out, you know? So to see the city this way, and you're just so loving with the conversation, dialogue, but also your shot choices, your composition, it's like, you can tell this is somebody who loves the Bay Area dearly. And anyone here who's from the Bay Area is familiar with the Bay Area. I'm sure you also get the same feeling when you see HP paint the city for you on screen.
I guess you maybe allude to it a little bit, but what I'm interested in now, like you're talking about, you wrote this in 1997, you heard about it in 2008, you made a number of films before this. Why did you decide, okay, now it's time to make Bitter Melon?
Honestly, after every film, I kept saying the next one is Bitter Melon, you know? But it starts to wear you down when every time you pitch that as your next film. It's always the same 5 questions. It's like, okay, yeah, cool. Why are they Filipino? Or B, okay, you can have them. Could they be side characters? And then there's one that's not so bad because I get this. Could you add a non-Filipino character in there so that way they can explain to the audience all the stuff that alienates them? And you know, I get it. That's how the business works, right? If you're trying to make it, if you're trying to spend a lot of other people's money, you're going to have to kind of allay their concerns. But when you have someone like Cinematographo, you know, an initiative to get more Filipino American voices represented on the big screen, and you're asking for stories that are Filipino American, I'm like, I've got something for you. It's literally about a Filipino American family. So when I submitted the script to Miguel Sevilla, who's in the house right now, I'll be honest with you, I think I told you this. I was like, okay, there you go, send. I'm gonna get a ton of notes, you know? And Miguel was like, okay, we like it. Let's do this. And I think it's to Cinematographo's credit for taking risks and wanting to put stories out there that haven't been told yet. Because the one thing I've always told people is, look, an independent film, you're working with such a little amount of money that you have full control. Why the fuck would you make a movie that someone else has already made? You know? So that's what we're doing here. It's like, let's tell our stories the way. Oh, look, and here we have John Melon.
Sorry to interrupt.
I was like this the whole time looking for you. Yeah. Declan, everybody, and Lisa.
I've asked Theresa and sort of asked HBO to speak about the genesis of the project, how they got involved. I wonder if you could speak to the same.
Yeah, I'm friends with Anna, and she one day out of the blue emailed me and said, hey, I have a friend who's a director, can I give your name and information to him? I said, yeah, sure. Because that happens all the time, actually. People are like, oh, can I give your name to somebody, so-and-so, and nothing really comes out of it, usually. So I was like, yeah, sure. And then we got in contact over Facebook, I think, and he was like, really chill about it. He's like, I'll send you the script, take a look at it, see what you think. And I read the script that night, and I finished around like 3 in the morning, and I wrote him an email at 3 in the morning. I was like, hey, so I love it, and I would love to do it if you would have me and let me know what I can do to do it. And so that's how I got attached.
I've known HP since he says early aughts from a play reading that we did in San Francisco, but I really collaborated with HP in 2011 on his previous film, I Am a Ghost. So,
It's amazing.
I made, a nice little place in each other's hearts. So, yeah.
I'd like to open up now to audience questions. If anybody has a question for any of these guys. Yes, you sir in the middle.
Where can I buy this?
That's what this is all about, right? This is our 3rd festival, and we're trying to get this in front of the eyes of people like you who will demand more of this or ask questions like, where can I buy this, right? Say that louder, and the distributors will hear. We need distribution. And we're happy that we know we're going to get distribution right now. So it's getting the best deal, how to get it in the most theaters, the most screens to hit the most audience. So keep your eyes open right now. Here's the most rote plug I can give you. You can go to www.bittermelonfilm.com and keep up with us there. You can also find us on Facebook. We have a page. We're all over. We've littered on the internet, and it's just us saying, hey, look out for us because we'll be hitting a theater soon.
Yes, you sir, in the white.
Yeah, my question is, you being Filipino American, you use the word bitter melon and not Paria. Can you explain why not?
So again, it used to be called He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, and we didn't get the rights to that song, so I couldn't do that. And as time went on, I did originally pick Bitter Melon because it's what I grew up calling it, but I know a lot of people in my family call it Paria, that's Ilocano. People were saying I should call it Papalaya because that's Tagalog, and it starts with the letter A, which is good for distributors. Right? Bitter Melon's second best, I guess, right? But I do think that just like the title alone, Bitter Melon, I think, like, I'm a little bit of a typography and design nerd. I think it looks good. I think Bitter Melon looks really good, especially when you're using old 70s typography. Yeah, I think it's the kind of title that kind of gets a lot across without having to explain.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a screenwriter, and I was just curious, the ending. You had said that you first wrote this script in 1997, is that correct?
Yeah.
And then you were like, no, I have to mature as a writer. But did the script change, meaning the ending? Like, did, for instance, Troy in the original one, he didn't like get that second chance, he just died and they just killed him, or was that consistent throughout?
That was always the ending. It was always the execution that changed. You know, I think the original draft was always a lot less empathetic to everybody. You know, in the way that a lot of people who, when they say they want to write a black comedy, they're literally looking at, they're taking a magnifying glass and burning all the ants on the page.
And actually, on that note, so it was interesting though, because you're right. The film does try very hard to be, you know, non-judgmental, and in a way that I thought was kind of interesting, because, you know, in a lot of other films, like, I'm curious, was this at all an influence? Once We're Warriors, which is also about an abusive family, and there the abuser does get a chance to redeem himself?
Interesting you say that was from 1994, right? But I do feel like the 90s was sort of, I won't say the advent, but that's when you had the rise of movies like Once We're Warriors, where you're having to deal with an ethnic family, dealing with toxic masculinity. But a lot of the movies that came out, though, and this is not a critique, it's just an observation and feeling I had, a lot of movies that dealt with domestic abuse needed to simplify things in order to sell tickets. You know, that's just how it works, right? So what do? They have to do something that I personally feel is a disservice. Let's create the narrative that the abused is the good guy and the abuser is the bad guy. As simple as that. And it's like, well, you know, that's not, you can do that in a movie, right? You can create that automatic dichotomy in a tweet if that's all you have time for. But if these are your family members, it's a lot more nuanced than that, you know? And even the way you phrased it, does he let go? Does he get a second chance? Well, did he get a second chance, or was he exiled? Right? There's a whole history of the punishment of exile being worse than death. So I do think that now it may be a more empathetic movie, which, you know, I just don't think that's a bad thing. But the ending was always the same.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Go ahead.
What was your casting process like? Like the brothers and the mom and
So I basically had my ensemble before we even started casting with ABS. I talked to Anna about this for a long time. Anna got me connected with John. Theresa and I have been talking about this since 2008. The mother was someone who came through the casting at ABS CBN. Actually, all the older actors came through the casting at ABS CBN. Oh, and Brian Rivera is someone who I've known for a long time from the Bay Area, who also lives here in New York. And I always said that one day we'd probably work with each other. I didn't know it was going to take like 15 years, but hey.
Actually, on that note, I have another question. Well, actually, why don't you go ahead, sir? Sorry.
I'm curious if there were any scenes that you cut, and if there were, could you describe it?
I'm sorry?
I'm curious if there were any scenes that you cut, and if there were, could you describe it?
Yeah, there were definitely scenes that were cut. You can even see the vestige of these deleted scenes in the trailer. I think I used to have a lot wackier scenes of Troy, sort of as being a clown, because one of the things that I knew I'd be struggling with was making someone who I wanted you to hate, but I wanted you to hate him at the right time, right? There's a weird balancing act in the screenplay where it's almost mathematical, and with the amount of humor that I put before the actual act, I think it was getting a little too wacky, where it raises questions like, well, why should I want him dead? He's actually a likable guy. So yeah, there was a big scene that a lot of people didn't want me to cut, where he sings karaoke and it's atrocious. But it's going to be a deleted scene in the movie. We'll have a bunch of deleted scenes available for people.
Right, so we're in the middle.
Why did you choose Ilocano instead of Tagalog?
Why did I choose Ilocano instead of Tagalog? It's because I really wanted to pay homage to my family. You know, it's interesting because when we did Fruit Fly, I made the honor to speak Ilocano in that. And one other note, the fifth note, I didn't get to the fifth note I was telling you guys about. The fifth note is, yeah, a lot of the ethnic stuff makes me feel alienated, you know? And what I love about that is, I like, if anyone says that to me, I like saying, like, hey, welcome to my world. And one of the best things about that, too, I love when my Tagalog friends hear this, they're like, whoa, that makes me feel really alienated. This whole house, no one's Tagalog in this house.
Just talking earlier about the casting, so it must be such a challenge to direct a film with such an ensemble cast, such a big cast. I was wondering, just briefly talk about, you know, the challenge of that, and then you guys speak about what's it like to be part of the cast.
Can you repeat the question?
maybe. What I mean is, you know, to have a cast is essentially a family. You know, it's such a huge cast. So as a director, that must be a challenge, and then also as an actor to kind of be a part of a family, like on set. What was that like?
It was thrilling. Working with HP was really easy, and he made it look really easy, even though I'm sure he was stressed much of the time. And we kind of hit the ground running. We had a lot of scenes to shoot every day. And I think my second day on set was like the big basement scene where we have Troy tied up. That was his second day on set, and I had, I guess I had met everybody once before, but you know, to develop kind of a familial rapport with these people who were supposed to be my family members was a fun challenge to be able to do, and luckily everybody was really wonderful on set. But yeah, we had a lot of work to do, so I feel like everybody just put their nose to the grindstone and we just did what we had to do in the time allotted. And you know, sometimes we were stressed, but again, HP was really, really easy to work with.
Well, thank you. We tried to mask. We had 18 days to shoot. So, you know, three 6-day segments, right? Is that right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm in that one scene, so I had to, much like what John was saying, just kind of establish a rapport with these people who I theoretically went to high school, maybe even middle school with. But yeah, I had one day of shooting, and having a rapport with HP from a previous project made things a lot easier as well. I also was familiar with Brian Rivera, because we're both from the Bay, so yeah, there's some great built-in infrastructure as far as kind of executing familiarity and creating a vibe.
Same, and LA and I had been in Fruit Fly together, our friends, IRL, and just like being able to work with HP. I think at this point was a nice homecoming in so many ways.
Let's have one more. Okay, one more audience question right up there.
Teamwork.
You kind of mentioned that there's supposed to be some sort of gray area between whether Troy was having a redemptive moment or kind of being cast out. But I feel like there's a lot of color symbolism with white throughout the movie, and so when you saw that we were going up, he was wearing white, which is also a redemptive. Is there perfect in that?
No, actually, that's. I mean, I'm glad you picked up on the visual allegory for sure. But again, I mean, it's me. I'm glad that it does seem subtle enough because I was scared it would be too obvious. I mean, the last name is Santos, right? And you have them all wearing white, you know. And so for me, I mean, it's the only time that you see him matching with the family. You know, everyone's dressed up for Christmas, and there he's in his tank top. That's how we dress up for Christmas, right? Because it's buttons or whatever. And there is a color scheme through the movie. Like everything starts off green and red and warm, and by the time things are up, everyone's wearing cool colors. At the end, he's leaving, but who knows the musical Carousel is playing here in town? It's actually good. No one's seen it, so I shouldn't talk about it. Major spoilers. The idea of him like rising like that doesn't mean he's like going to heaven. I mean, you can take it as a sort of death. And if you think exile is worse than death, which a lot of cultures do, that would be it.
Thank you so much, guys, for coming, especially for you guys. And